Welcome to another Friday workshop. What I wanted to kind of go over today are one of the fundamental concepts that you should understand when you're building a trade system in BloodHound. Whenever you're building a trade signal, right? There's some core kind of fundamental things that you need to understand when using BloodHound. And so that's what I want to explain today. And I'm just gonna make up some kind of a trade rule off the top of my head here. So the first thing you want to do when you're building a system is, find a spot on your chart, where your trade signal would be. You want to find a trade setup on your chart according to your rules. So that's what I'm wanting to do right now. Yeah, okay, I think I found one here. And just a moment here, I'm gonna get the racing stripes off the chart. Okay, there we go. So let's get rid of this, get rid of that, and get rid of that. All right. I'm just going to use one indicator here with a couple of different conditions. All right, so it's just something I came up with the top of my head just to kind of explain this concept here. So the first thing we want to look for is our stochastic crossing above, and let's see, I've got 20 on the chart. All right, so we want our stochastic to cross above 20. All right, we want it to cross up. And we also want to see the stochastic cross above 80 as well. So that'll be, right, condition number 2 there. And let's get some numbers on here. Numbers are always helpful. Okay, so there's rule number 1. And that'll be rule number 2. And then, let's see, rule number 3 is we want to get a reversal bar. Okay, there's rule number 3, and then have the bar quickly reverse again in the direction of the trend. Or I should say, probably not so much the direction of the trend, but more locally, I guess it would be just the direction of our stochastic move, right? So yeah, so there we go. So we got four rules there. So, right, so you're going to build a solver, looking at each of these conditions. And the key to remember is we're going to have the trade signal here. That's where our trade signal is going to be. And all right, I'm just going to make this very clear and distinct. All right, so that's going to be the trade trigger on that bar, right? So we're going to build a solver that looks for this crossover, right? So the key when you're building a system is we have to get the signal from the solver, right? So we're going to use a crossover solver to look for condition 1, right? So that's going to give us a signal, right on this bar where that little dot is. And the key is to then take the signal from this bar and transfer it over to this bar. Right, so that's kind of the key a fundamental key when you're building a trading system is, if condition, number 1 and number 2 and number 3, if those conditions all happen, prior, several bars before the actual trade signal occurs, the key is to get the output or the signal from these solvers and transfer them forward onto the bar that actually is the actual trade signal, right? The final condition. So, so that's the concept here that I'm going to cover today. So let's see. Let me make a little room here, and we'll start working away on this. Okay, let's get BloodHound open. Alright, so let's build our first condition, a crossover. Alright, let's give this a name. So we got the stochastic crossing over the 20. And I'm going to be more specific. So we're crossing up. So we want the stochastic to be crossing up above the 20. Alright, so let's put our stochastic indicator there. And let's see, I'm just using the default stochastic settings, so that's good. And we're looking at the D, right? The green line is the D, so that's already selected for us. All right, and the next step is indicator B needs to be set to that 20 level, or that 20 threshold level. So we're going to use a fixed value, right? So 20 is just a fixed value. So let's put 20 in there. Okay, so there we go. So we can see we got the stochastic crossing down and then stochastic crossing up. And so I'm just going to build, first let me just build a long signal here, since that's what we found on the chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the evaluate for this crossover and change it so that we only get a long signal. So now we're only getting cross ups. When the stochastic crosses up above 20, that's the only signal we're going to get, right? So whenever the stochastic crosses down, we're not getting that signal. Okay, and so we need another crossover for condition 2 here. So, but before I get going, so you can see we need to get this crossover condition transferred over to the bar, that actually has the trade signal. So, hence the arrow. So okay, I guess before I get started on that part, let me just build the solver for condition number 2. So that'll be pretty quick. Let's grab another crossover. I'm going to connect that up. Alright, we got the stochastic crossing up above the 80 level. Alright, we'll put the stochastic in there. Oops, going the wrong way. There's our stochastic. Okay. Alright, we're still using the %D, so that's all good. And next we'll change this to a fixed value, and that's going to be our 80 level. And so we want to get rid of the short signals here. We're not interested in those. So we'll put that to long only. There we go. We got rid of the short signals back here when our stochastic crosses down the 80. Alright, so there we go. There's another signal right there for condition 2. And of course we need to get this solver's signal also transferred over over to the actual trade signal bar. So okay, so there's several different ways that we could take a solver's signal and transfer it forward. So so you have to kind of know your system to decide what should I use to take a signal and transfer it forward in time, right? So so it also helps to kind of think about this as it's happening in real time, right? So if this is the current bar, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future, you go, okay, I've got a trade signal here, and then another bar builds and another bar builds, so just kind of think this through linearly, as time goes by, as things would really happen, and linear, just kind of step forward and just think of how things are going to play out, if you're trading this live. And then, all right, so we get these conditions happening, then we get the full trade setup. So some of the things you have to think about is there some kind of a time limit is there some kind of a time limit between condition number 1 and condition number 4? Right? A lot of systems, you'll say something like, well, this all needs to happen within 10 or 20 bars, right? So from condition 1 to condition 4, usually there's some kind of a time limit for these, say like 10 or 20 bars, something like that. Let's see, to kind of use an example here. Yeah, like here we go, right? So we got like condition 1 there, condition 2 there, and then we get condition 3, right? And condition 4 never materializes until much later, right? If we don't put any time limit, right, this would be condition 4, and this may or may not be a good situation. It may or may not be a good setup, right? Because too many bars happened between condition 3 and condition 4. So you may say, to yourself, well, this is an invalid trade. Too many bars went by. Or maybe, your trade rules say, well, between condition 2 and condition 3, too many bars went by. Too many bars, just too much time went by, or too many bars went by, right? So let's see, where is condition 2? That's probably condition 2. So you have to kind of think to yourself, what are the time limits between the various conditions that would basically negate your trade system here. So if you do have like a fixed number of bars that go by, then to get condition 1 to condition 4, if you have a fixed number of bars, then we could use something like the look back. We could use something like the look back to extend it forward in time. All right, so I can take a look back, plug that in there, and I can say, between condition 1 and condition 4, I need I'm gonna allow a maximum of 10 bars to happen. And let's see, we're gonna set this to max. There we go. So set the look back mode to max. And so what we essentially did is took this crossover, and we took this crossover condition and we extended it forward for 10 bars to allow condition 2, 3, and 4 to all set up within that 10 bar limit. Right, so now we can see, so we've got condition 1, that crossover, and it now extends forward until condition 4 happens. Right, so this is one of the fundamental keys to building a system in BloodHound. So we took condition 1 and we extended it forward so that there is a long signal on the trade setup bar. Right, so there's a long condition on condition number 4. So, you know what? Actually, I'll probably let me. There's a lot of numbers going on here, so let me just switch this over to A, B, and C. There we go. All right. So we took condition A, extended it forward 10 bars, which was enough. For condition D to set itself up, and so we actually have a long output on condition D, right? The bar for condition D. So that's the key. So all right. So that happened. We got that for, let's see, condition A, and let's see. How about? Oh, let me change the name here. I'll put A for that. So that solver is A. This solver is B. Alright, so now we need to take, right, condition B. So there we go. Here's condition B. It's all lit up with our racing stripe. So now we need to get condition B over to condition D. And let's see, once again, you kind of have, you could, maybe there's a fixed number of bars, that you could use to go from condition B to condition D. So just to kind of stay with the same concept here, I'll just put a bar limit, right? So from condition A to condition D, we set a 10 bar limit, and so to go from condition B to condition D, we'll also set a bar limit here. So we'll grab another look back, and let's see here. Let me rename this here. Alright, so we got a look back of 10. I'll just rename that there. So this one I'll set, oh yeah, that's right. Hey guys, hopefully you remember to roll your contracts over today. So yesterday was the contract rollover date. So thank you, Ninja, for reminding me. Alright. Okay. So let's see. Alright, so I'm going to place, I guess we'll just say 5 bars. So to go from condition B to condition D, there's a 5 bar limit. And let's set this to max as well. Alright, oh, and let's connect this up here so we're looking at it. There we go. Alright, so this is set with a look back of 5, like so. Alright, so we can see that, right, going going from our condition B here, our stochastic cross up, and we've extended that solver forward until there's at least, right, a long setup here on the trade signal bar, right? And so now the key here, right? The key is almost every system uses an AND node. And so if we connect both of these into an AND node, let's look at what we get, right? So what we get, so what is lit up with a long signal here are the bars where condition A and condition B overlap, right? So we can see from condition A to B, there's no output there, and that's because condition B doesn't have an output back here. So what we do see signals for are where condition B is extended forward and where condition A is extended forward. That overlap is where we get a signal, is what we're seeing these trade signals from, or these, not trade signals, but just signals. So that is why it's key to take A and extend it forward onto condition D, and that's because almost all systems use this AND node, right? So if I take, let's take a look here. So if I disconnect this look back and I just plug the solver in, see, we get nothing. We're going to get nothing. And that's because, so let's take a look at what's going into the AND node here, right? So we've got this crossover solver, so we can see it has, right, an output only on that one bar. And if we take a look at condition B, right, that's being plugged into the AND node, if we take a look at that, all right, we can see the output right here. So the solver for condition A never overlapped where condition B was. So that's why the AND node gives us no result. But if we take this look back and plug it into the AND node, disconnect the solver, now we get an overlap. So, all right, let's see. Let's kind of finish putting the rest of the system here together. So let's build. We need to build a solver for condition C now, right? So condition C is we need a reversal bar essentially. So let's see, a reversal bar. Let's use a inflection here. So in the case of using these backtest Rankos, or in the case of using pretty much any Ranko, the inflection solver will work just fine. So, all right, so we're looking for the inflection of price. There we go. All right, so we can see condition C here. It's giving us a short output, right? And that's because price is, right, inflecting down. So we're generating a long signal here. So condition C, right, the output for this from the solver. So the output from this solver, we need to reverse it because we can't use this short signal or this short output to build a long trade signal. So we have to convert this short to a long signal. And so to do that, we can take this long short modifier, and that'll help us out here. Actually, let's not do that. Let's keep it simple here. There's always multiple ways to do this. So we can actually change the output here. So the output, if you look at the output section, normally we have slope in direction is turned on, right? Which makes sense. So when price reverses up, right? In other words, the direction of price changed to up, and so it gave us a long signal. And then when price reverses and goes down, down in slope, it's giving us a short. So that's slope in the direction. We'll turn that off, and we'll use slope against direction. Let's turn that on, and that essentially reverses the output for that solver. So that's a better way of doing this. So there we go. Condition C now is giving us a long output here. So now we just need to extend it forward until condition D. And so let's see, since we're using a inflection solver, well, let's just use the look back period, right? So you can see this look back period. It's the same thing as this look back node, right? You see the look back node has a look back period, right? And as you guys have probably kind of determined, a look back period can be used to extend an output forward in time. So going back to the inflection solver, so I'm just going to make an arbitrary decision of going from condition C to condition D, and I'll just do another 5-bar extension, and let's see. So we get, all right. So we get 2 long bars, and then we get a short, and yeah, that's right. So actually, that's not working out there. So what the inflection solver is doing is, you can see it's with this look back of 5, when we got this inflection up, right, that output got extended forward for 5 bars, and then so this inflection down, it also got extended, but then we got an inflection up, and so the inflection solver, right, cancels the down inflection and changes to a up inflection, and it canceled it there. So actually using this solver's look back doesn't work. So let's go back to using a look back node again. So let's see, let me name this solver here. Alright, so got that solver named. Okay, so we're going to have to grab another look back here. Let's grab another look back. Alright, so this is going to be another look back of 5 bars. Let's change that to 5. Once again, change our mode to max. Okay, so now you can see the look back. If we look down here, alright, so there's our inflection down, and oh, hold on, let me set our displacement to 0. There we go. So there's condition C, and you can see the long outputs now get extended forward for 5 bars. If we look down here at BloodHound's output, as well as the inflection up also gets extended forward 5 bars. So let's see. Yeah, I'm just thinking to myself. Yeah, okay. So actually, yeah, we're done with that part. So we're good there. So let's take a look at this AND node now. So we've got condition A, B, and C plugged in here. Right, so still, so we've got A extended forward for 10 bars, and then we got B and C extended forward for 5 bars. So last step is to build condition D and plug that into the end node there. So once again, condition D is, I'd say it's just another inflection solver, right? Because we are waiting for price to reverse back up in the correct direction. You know, I guess there's two ways I could do that. You know, I could possibly use a bar direction solver to do that. Let's grab that. There we go. Right, so bar direction solver, right? It's identifying up bars and down bars. So if I use a bar direction solver, it does give us a signal. So it gives us a signal once condition D happens, right? But we can also see that we have two up bars afterwards, and so we're getting kind of like, you know, right, multiple trade signals there, right? We got 3 signals there. So the bar direction solver would work, but I'd say there's a better choice. And I'd say the better choice would be to use a inflection solver here again. So we're going to do a inflection of price. So let's see, let's name this first. And we'll set the input to price. There we go. Alright, so on condition D, you can see we have a long output from this solver on condition D. And basically condition D is right the last condition, so that's what actually triggers the trade. And so we'll just connect that in there, and that is it. So you can see we got one signal there on the actual trade signal bar, right? So you can, let's take a look at this again, right? So let's take a look at what this AND node is doing. Right, so you can see the AND node is showing us where all 3 of these look back solvers overlap. Right, now this inflection solver, we can see it only gives us a long output only on condition D. Right, so there's no long output anywhere else. So when we look at this AND node, and then when we plug in this last solver, which only has a signal here where the dot is, we can see the AND node is basically only showing us where all 4 solvers overlap with their output. Alright, so that's kind of the general concept. Now, there's other ways that we can take condition A and B, right, and extend them forward in time. There's other ways that we can take actually A, B, and C and extend them forward in time. So, right, the look back is one. That's kind of one simple way. But we also have a toggle node as well. So a toggle node can be used to extend a signal forward in time. Let's see. All right, so I guess it's kind of time to name this logic template here. All right, I guess there's a name for it. And all right, so now I'm going to go through the same thing here, But instead, I'm going to try and use toggle nodes instead of these look-back nodes, where a toggle node, I guess, could be appropriate. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shortcut here. Right. So I've already got my solvers for condition A, B, C, and D. And I'm going to work on another logic template here, so I'm just going to make a copy of this. Okay, so there's a copy. And instead, I'll rename this to the toggle node. Alright, so using the toggle node. So let's see, let's get rid of these lookbacks here. Let's put a toggle node on here. Okay, so the toggle node here is it's designed to flip kind of back and forth, but it's not. Let's see, yeah, it's not going to flip back and forth. Yeah, so this crossover solver only gives us a long output. So there's no short output that will flip our toggle node. So let's see, okay. Okay, so I'm going to have to replace this crossover solver. So let me just make a replacement here to use. So I'm just going to make a copy here. And so the difference is so I'm building a crossover solver that will give me both long and short outputs here. And I'm going to take condition B, make a copy of it, and instead of it being just a cross up only, I'm just going to make it a crossover. So set these back to evaluate both long and shorts, like so. Okay, so I've got two new crossover solvers. So I'm going to get rid of A and B crossover solvers. Let's put the new ones on the board there, right? So there's the stochastic crossover of 20 and the crossover of 80. Alright, so let's take a look at these solvers here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so, alright, we've got a cross up of the 20 and then a cross down of the 20. Let's plug that into the toggle node. And you can see, right, so the toggle node is flip-flopping its default settings, will flip-flop itself back and forth, right? So we're crossing above the 20, and so the toggle node turns on to the long side, and then when our stochastic crosses down below the 20, we can see the toggle node flips to a short state, right? So I call these states, right? So the toggle node is in a long state, and then it flips down to a short state. And that is the default settings here. So we can see the default settings is for the input, right? So for the input, and let's zoom in here. So you see the toggle node has a input and a reset connection. So the input it's set to on signal. It forces the toggle node on, and then the opposite signal gets forced off. So on a signal, so basically the toggle node got a short signal, right? When the stochastic crossed down, a short signal came into the toggle node. Right, so let's take a look at that. So this short signal came into the toggle node, and so it forced the short state on, and the opposite signal, so basically this long state, right, is opposite of a short. So this opposite signal here was forced off. So, and the resets are set to do nothing, so by default. So we can see that the toggle node, hopefully you guys are seeing that, right, the toggle node for condition A, the toggle node can stay on for as long as necessary, right? So sometimes you don't know how long it will take to go from condition A to condition D, right? Sometimes you just don't know how long. You know, it could, sometimes it might happen in 5 bars, and sometimes it might take 25 bars. And so, you know, when it's kind of when the situation is unknown like that, you might want to use a toggle node. And then the other component is we have to make up some kind of rule that turns the toggle node off. So, you know, so when A happens and then price does its thing, eventually, you know, condition A, or basically eventually the whole trade setup, something might happen which negates your whole trade setup. In which case you need to turn the toggle node off, right? So that way that way you don't get a trade signal by accident. So let's see. So I need to make up some kind of rule that will turn the toggle node off for condition A. And let's see. Probably just need another indicator on here. So I'm just going to throw a couple of indicators on here just to make something up. Alright, yeah, I think I got something here just to make something up. Let's move this up. Alright, so here's what's going to cancel the setup. So so if we look back here, you know, if we look back here, right, we got condition A, we have condition B, we have condition C, but we don't get around to condition D until much later, right? I guess this could be a condition D way back here, but you know, that's just too long. But so I'm going to use the CCI to basically kind of cancel the trade setup. So if the CCI right here, so if the CCI crosses below -100, that's going to cancel this trade setup, right? Just to make something up here. So we got condition A, B, C, and then the whole thing gets canceled 2 bars later. Yeah. So there we go. So a bar later, the whole thing gets canceled because the CCI just dived below -100. So that would kind of cancel this, this setup here. And over here, over here it's still valid. So our CCI doesn't cross below -100. So this would still be a valid trade setup. So let's use the CCI to turn off that toggle node. Excuse me. Okay. And let's get BloodHound back open here. All right. So what we need is we need a solver that gets connected into the reset connection of the toggle node, and then we can use these resets here to turn off the toggle node. So let's see. I'm going to build a crossover solver that looks for the CCI to cross the negative 100 or cross the positive 100, right? So to cancel a long signal, right? So we're kind of setting up for a long signal here. We're going to use the CCI crossing the negative 100 to cancel that long signal. And then if the CCI crosses the positive 100, that'll kind of cancel a short trade signal. Right. So let's grab another crossover solver. We're using a lot of crossovers here. Alright, so we got the CCI, let's see, crossing over 100 or negative 100. And actually, let's see. The crossover solver can only look to cross over one value at a time. So this one will just have to be the CCI crossing the negative 100 for now. So we'll set up our CCI in here. Alright, let's see. Yeah, I'm just using a period of 14. So that's good. Alright, and once again, we need to use a fixed value to get negative 100 in there. And oh, let's take a look at that. There we go. Okay, so our crossover solver. Let's see. We're only interested in the shorts. So there we go. So we'll set the evaluate to short only. So we're only interested in these short crossovers, right? CCI cross below negative 100. So we're going to use this short signal here to cancel the long state of the toggle node, right? So let's take a look at the toggle node, right? So we have the toggle node in a long state to prepare for a long trade setup. So we're going to use that short signal to cancel the long side of the toggle node. So we're going to connect this into the reset. And so now we need to figure out which of these resets do we use. Do we use the on signal or on opposite signal? So remember, so the toggle node is in a long state, but we're getting a short signal from the solver, right? The solver is giving us a short signal, which is opposite the long state that the toggle node is in. So let's use, going back to the toggle node, let's use the on opposite signal, and we want to force off the state. And bingo, there we go. So we can see the toggle node stays on until the CCI crosses below like that. So, and let's go back here. So we can see that the toggle node is in a short state, but our CCI crossed 100. Well, actually, the toggle node changed state, so that's a bad example. Let's see. Let's go somewhere else. And let's see. I just need to find a situation here. Okay, I think I found one. So, well, no, the toggle node changes states a little too soon there. There we go. Okay, so our CCI just barely crossed that 100 value. Yeah, okay. So, all right, so we're going to have to do something a little extra special here. So I'm going to have to create another crossover solver that looks for the CCI to cross the positive 100. So let's take the solver we built. We'll make a copy of it. This is going to be CCI crossing the positive 100. Right, change the fixed value to 100, positive 100. Okay, let's drop it on the board here. Now, so we have, yeah, there we go. There's our crossover. And, oh, hold on. I forgot to change the evaluate to long only. There we go. So there's our CCI crossing above positive 100. And that will reset the toggle node. So when the toggle node is in this short state here, we're going to turn this short state off early if our CCI crosses the positive 100. So we've got two solvers here that are both trying to reset the toggle node, but we can't connect them both into the reset. So what we have to do is join these solvers together into an OR node, like so. So if we take a look at the OR node, there we go. We can see that when the CCI is crossing positive 100 or negative 100, right? And so we can now take this OR node and connect it into the reset. There we go. Let's take this back here. There we go. And we can rename this OR node if we want. So let's call it the CCI reset. So, or the CCI condition A reset. There. Alright, let's take a look at this. So, alright, our stochastic goes down. So that's condition A. And then condition A turns off when our CCI crosses up. Alright, let me scroll forward here and get back to where we were. Alright, yeah, so here's where we were. Alright, so we've got, this attempt over here which failed. Alright, so here's condition A. here's condition B. And let's get C over here. So we got A, B, and C. And then, so then basically the CCI canceled the trade. So, right. But over here we can see that basically the CCI didn't cancel our trade. So condition A, the toggle node for condition A is still valid, waiting for a trade setup here. So we've got condition A extended forward until eventually condition A gets canceled here. And then no more long trade setups. So let's see here. And we can rename this toggle node here. So this is the A toggle, like so. All right. And let's see, let's take B. All right, let's take B and work on B. So we need to get the signal for B extended forward as well. So I guess just for simplicity, let's just kind of follow the same concept here. Right? We'll extend condition B forward until the CCI cancels condition B, or cancels the toggle node. Yeah, canceling the toggle node, canceling condition B. So let's just grab another toggle node, connect that up like so. So this will be the toggle node for condition B, like so. Let's take a look. So here we go. Condition B happens, and the toggle node gets put into a long state, right? And let's see. Yeah, so let's see. Condition B is crossing above the 80, and we can see the toggle node goes short when it crosses below 20 or below 80. Yeah, let's see. So let's see. I'm going to look for a short setup here. Let's kind of get our rules defined here a little clearer. Yeah, okay. Alright, so there's A for a short setup. And here's B. And it's too bad we can't copy text onto a different panel. Okay, so let's here's condition C. We'll make that red as well. And then condition D. There we go. Okay, so there's some setups for a short trade. And our CCI didn't cross that 100, so it looks like we're good. So it looks like we should get a trade signal here. All right, so kind of getting back to, yeah, getting back to this. So looking at, so we can see, right, so this is B, right, we call this condition B. However, it's interesting, for a short trade, condition B actually is condition A, right, because it's the stochastic crossing the 80, and then condition B is stochastic crossing the 20, but when the stochastic crosses the 20, that's our condition A for a long signal here. So let's see, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Let's see. Well, let's just kind of, we'll just go for it now. Yeah, let's just kind of go for it now. So we'll just focus on building the long trade signal, and then we'll see if, you know, if everything just happens to work out for a short signal. I think it will, but we'll find out. And all right, so we've got the toggle node for condition B on our long side here, and eventually we need to turn off the toggle node for condition B. And let's see, yeah. So to do that, we're going to take this reset and also connect it into the, I'm sorry, we're going to take this OR node, which is providing our reset signals, and we're going to connect it into the reset here. And let's see, so the condition A toggle node, right, we've taken the on opposite signal and set it to force off. And so let's do the same thing here for condition B toggle node. We'll take on opposite signal and we'll set it to force off. And let's see if any of our long state, or yeah, if any of our long states turn off a little early. Let's take a look here. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So condition B for a long state, right, is the stochastic crossing above 80, and then, but the CCI crossed negative 100. So the toggle node turned off 1 bar early before it got turned on again for the CCI crossing. So yeah, that wasn't a very good example, but the toggle node is functioning the way expected here. So let's take a look at the AND node. Let's see what we get with both of these now. Yeah, so here we go. So looking back here, condition A happens, and then condition B happens, and we can see our toggle nodes stay on at least until condition C happens. And unfortunately, we didn't get a reversal bar soon enough, and the toggle nodes, basically condition A and B, got canceled because of our CCI. But we can see things are working good so far. Same over here. So condition A happens, and then condition B happens, and both toggle nodes are on, or turned on, after condition B happens. And so remember, so the key is we need a long output on this bar from condition A and condition B, and so we have a long output here on this bar. So remember, that's kind of the key of what I'm trying to illustrate here. So if we took a look at the toggle node for condition A, right? So condition A, the toggle node turns on, and we have a long output on the actual trigger bar or the trade signal bar. And the same thing for B. So if we look at the toggle node for B, right? Condition B happens, and the toggle node stays on, and we have a long output on the actual trigger bar or the trade bar. And we'll put these both into an AND node, and the AND node shows that we have a long output here still on the trigger bar or the trade signal bar. Right. So far so good. So now we'll take condition C, and I'm probably going to say that condition C, from condition C to condition D, probably, just to make up a rule, an arbitrary rule here, I'd say, going from C to D probably needs to happen within a couple of bars, right? So, let's just say if we're just looking for kind of like a short pullback, we're just looking for a short pullback in price before it reverses in the trend direction. So, yeah, so I'll just say, instead of using a toggle node for C, one of our conditions could be that C, right, condition C is the pullback. And so a lot of trading systems don't like to see an extended pullback. Usually the pullback needs to be just a few bars, just to get that quick pullback and then wait for price to go forward. So let's just use a fixed number of bars to go from condition C to condition D, right? So there we go. Let's grab C, and since I'm gonna just use a look back here for C. And let's just say it needs to happen, let's say 3 bars maybe. And, well, let's give it one more. We'll just say 4 bars. Give it an extra bar. Right. Oops. There we go. 4 bars. Okay. And so we'll plug that in there. All right, that really kind of restricts stuff, doesn't it? So now we can see that the AND node is only giving us, so once condition C happens, the AND node is only giving us 4 bars with a long output. So condition D has to happen within this 4 bar period here. There's 4 bars that have this long output. So that means condition D has to happen within these 4 bars. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so our failed setup over here, condition C happened, but we see that there's only 2 bars, right? So C, well, remember, we're looking at the AND node here. So let's go back here. There we go. So remember, we're looking at the AND node. If we actually look at C, and let me just add a little clarity to the name here. So we're looking at the look back for C. So we can see the look back from C has 4 bars of an output. But the AND node, if we look at the AND node, it only has 2 bars. Why does it only have 2 bars? Well, remember our toggle nodes got canceled. The toggle nodes got turned off when our CCI crossed below 100. You see? So that's kind of, that's one reason why you might want to use a toggle node instead of just using all look-back nodes, right? So remember, at first I just used look-back nodes, which just use a fixed number of bars, but some trading systems don't use a fixed number of bars, right? They use indicators to kind of determine when your trade setup fails you, right? So in this case, our CCI, right, crossed that negative 100, and that basically failed this long trade up setup. So that's why after condition C, we only got 2 long outputs here. So basically, price would have had to have reversed it like immediately on this second bar in order to get a trade signal, but price didn't reverse for us, and so that long setup just failed, and there's no more output here anymore. And yeah, so here let's take condition D. Let's plug it in here. There we go. Plug in condition D. All right, and so condition D never happened around here. Condition D happened, basically this would have been like condition D, but they happened way too late. So now there's no output in here because we didn't get a reversal soon enough. But if we look back here, let's look back here. So here's our condition D, and it did happen. Remember over here, let's disconnect D again. So remember, from condition C, we had a 4-bar limit. Right, we got a 4-bar limit for condition D to occur. So we plug in condition D, and there's our trade signal right there on D. So, all right, let's kind of look back through the chart here and see what we got. Oh, hey, look at that. We got a couple of short signals here. Interesting. Okay, so let's all right, so we've got A and we've got B. Yeah, let's see here. So we have A and B. There's A and B. We got C and we've got D. So why didn't we get a trade signal there? Let's kind of take a look at stuff here. Alright, so let's look at A. And, oh yeah, that's right. So this toggle node is actually ended up being B for a short trade. A toggle is actually B toggle for a short trade. And so let's see, condition B is actually condition A for a short trade. Yeah, so there we go. So we got A happening there. So the toggle node's on. So this is actually B here. Let's see, so B happens. And I'll look, so B actually changes state. Yeah, so B goes from a short state into a long state. Yeah, so yeah, all right. So for this, for this kind of modified system using toggle nodes, we're going to have to build a separate logic for short trades versus versus long trades. Yeah. So this, what we built so far, really only works for long signals. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So let's modify this. So actually, I'm kind of, this is turning into a little more than I kind of expected. So this is also turning into kind of like, analyzing your thought process of your own trading system here, and figuring out what works and what's not working. Right. So like right here, the one thing that I didn't consider for condition B is, what happens when the stochastic, crosses that 20 level again. So you can see the stochastic crossed below 20, toggle node went into a short state, and the stochastic crossed above 20, and then it went into a long state. So, I don't know, maybe that could be one of my trade rules where I say the stochastic, has to stay below 20 for the trade setup to happen. Maybe that's one of the rules I need to make. I don't know. Because interesting, if we go back here, let's take a look at the signal. There we go. If we go back here, interesting enough, if we look at our stochastic, it stayed above 80. And so that's why this long signal occurred, as our stochastic stayed above 80 in this one situation. So I don't know, maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not, but let's see. Yeah, let's just say that the stochastic can actually cross below 80 and still provide a good trade signal. Like, yeah, interesting. So, like right here, we got condition A, condition B, and then condition C and condition D. Yeah, let's. So we got condition C and condition D, and our stochastic stayed below 20 this entire time. So that's what those were able to set up. And right, so we got a condition D, basically the bar reversed within 4 bars of condition C. So we got a trade set up there. And same here. And this entire time our stochastic stayed below 20, so that's why it didn't get canceled there. Yeah, so we got A and B, and then once again our stochastic. Yeah, so we got B again, but there's no condition A prior to it. And then we got C and D. So, yeah, I guess let's build this system so that we have to have A and B in order, right? Most, I guess, I think a lot of times what I hear when people explain, their ideas, usually A and B have to follow immediately one after the other. So you can't get an A, B, and then a B again, right? Because there was no A just prior to B. So, yeah. So if our stochastic moves out of this 20 level, so if our stochastic crosses above 20, let's use that to just kind of cancel the whole system. Right, so you definitely, when you're building something in BloodHound, it definitely forces you to really look at your trade rules very closely to understand it. Quite often I notice that people usually have a lot of unanswered stuff once they start putting their trade rules into BloodHound. There's a lot of unanswered stuff, and this would be something very typical of someone having a trading system but not knowing all the ins and outs of their trading system. Not realizing, what happens if our stochastic crosses above 20, and so therefore we don't get an A and B right after each other. What does that mean? So, BloodHound definitely forces you to really know all the various scenarios that can happen with your trade setups. All right, so let's. All right, so we want to cancel if our stochastic. Yeah, if our stochastic goes above 20. Let's see. Well, let's see. So far, this is only built for a long trade setup. Yeah, it's interesting. So the stochastic here never crosses below 80. Yeah, it just happens to stay above 80. Let's see. See, I'm disconnecting D here so that I could look for some more potential setups. Here we go. Let's see, here's some more setups. So we got A, A's here, B, we got C, our pullback, but price doesn't reverse in time, and it gets canceled because our CCI crosses that negative 100. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's a nice short setup that actually works here. We have A, stochastic crosses 80, and then it crosses 20, and then we get a reversal bar, so we get a pullback bar, and then another bar in the same direction. So yeah, so that actually worked out for a short. So So let's connect up condition D again, and bingo, there's the signal. So that worked good. And yeah, this worked out too. Let's take a look. Disconnect D again. All right, so we got A, condition B, and then we got our pullback bar, 2 pullback bars, and then reversed again in the same direction. So, yeah, so that's condition C that we're looking at, and yeah, interesting enough. So the CCI crossed the 20 level on the next bar, and so that's why the short output turned off, because the CCI crossed that 20. But price was able to reverse, and we got condition D, price reversing the trend direction. So we did actually get a trade signal there. Yeah, for D. So that worked out. And let's see. Yeah, so here's the trade signal that we need to get rid of here. Right there. Yeah, we need to get rid of that guy. And that's because there is no A to B. No A to B. Right? Basically, we had an A way back here. Alright, so let's think about this. So, okay, so I'm renaming this toggle node because toggle node is condition A for a long, but it's B for a short. Let's take a look at this here. So for the shorts, we can see it's B. Right? Whenever the stochastic crosses that 20, it's B for a short. But if we go over here, we can see it's A for a long setup. And yeah, we can see A, stochastic crosses 20, so it's A for a long setup. But it is B for a short setup. So I'm just kind of renaming these toggle nodes here to help me understand what these toggle nodes are actually doing. So this is B for a long, but it's A for a short there. Oh, I was typing in the wrong area here. There we go. Actually, no, that's true. This crossover solver is also doing 2 different functions. Yeah, this crossover solver. So it's B for a long signal, but it's A for a short signal. Yep, so I should rename this crossover solver as well. So if we take a look at this crossover solver here, right? This crossover solver, it's B for a short signal, but it's A for a long signal. Right? So yeah, so it's A for a long signal. So we got A and B for a long setup. Yeah, so even this crossover solver has 2 functions as well. So let me rename it here. that solver is condition A for a long signal, and it's condition B for a short signal. Okay. All right. Let's get back to what we're working on here. So we're trying to get rid of this short signal because A didn't happen right before B, right? We got A, B, and B, and so when this, yeah, so basically when, let's grab a circle. So when this cross up of the 20 occurred, you know, we're just going to say that that's one of our trade rules, that kind of cancels the whole setup, right? So our stochastic has to stay below 20 for a short trade setup. And if the stochastic rises above 20, like right here, then that cancels the whole setup. So, and that's what happened. So our stochastic got above 20, and so we want to cancel this short signal here. So let's see, what do we need to do? We need to, let's see, the toggle node for A. Yeah, so here's A. The toggle node for A, basically it stays on this entire time. But A should turn off if our stochastic crosses above 20, right? Condition A basically kind of gets canceled. If we look at the other toggle node, right, we can see that the B happens for the short side, and then B reverses to a long, you know, which basically would prevent, a short signal, you know, right? If the toggle node for B went into a long state, that would prevent, right? That's what prevented D, condition D happening here. When price reversed for condition D, basically condition B was canceled because our stochastic went above 20 and this toggle went into a long state. But what we need to do is take A, there we go, slide that over. So condition A also needs to get canceled when our stochastic crosses there. So let's see. Yeah. So I'm thinking we can use this toggle node. Or I'm sorry, we can use this crossover node. Yeah. To cancel A. Sorry guys, let me get things situated here. Alright. So condition A is in a short state and we want to cancel it here. And we already have a crossover solver here that we can use to cancel it. So we can see that this solver is generating a long signal here. So let's see. All right, things are getting pretty dense here. So let me adjust some stuff around here. All right. So, okay, we're looking at toggle node for condition A on the short side. And so we see that we can use this solver here, which gives us a long signal. So we can use this long signal to cancel this toggle node. So we need to get the signal from this solver into the reset for this toggle. All right, we need to get into the reset for this toggle here. So let's see. The way I can do that is I can use an OR node. There you go. It's trying to move this stuff around so it's easy to follow the leaders. That could be one of the trickiest things here. So, okay. There we go. So, condition A, right, turns on, our toggle node's on, but then the stochastic crosses above 20 and we can see the short turns off there. All right. So let's see if that does it for us. All right, we got A, B, and then it gets canceled. So there we go, that trade signal is missing. Let's just make sure everything's working still as planned. All right, so there's A and B. Our stochastic stays below 20. And then we get C and D setting up. And then we get C and D setting up again. And that's because, right, so the toggle node for A and B are staying on this entire time, right? There's nothing that's canceling condition A or condition B. So kind of getting back to, you know, the concept of this lesson, let's disconnect D and C. We'll disconnect those two conditions. So we're just looking at condition A and B here, right? So A happens and then B turns on, and right, so we can take a short trade this entire time here until finally our stochastic crosses above the 20 and it cancels the ability to take a short trade anymore. All right, so C and D can happen all day long as our stochastic stays below 20. And then, you know, and then condition A and B gets canceled once our stochastic crosses above 20. Right, so that's the key. So remember, so A and B have this a long output here the entire time that condition D can occur, that condition C and D can occur. So we took condition A, we extended it forward in time until condition D can fire off the trade signal, right? And we also took condition B, extended it forward in time until condition D can fire off a trade signal. Right, so remember, so that's the whole concept of this lesson. So it's not so much this trading system that I just made up random out of the air, right? So today's lesson is more about taking condition A and B, you know, however many kind of, I guess a common term for A and B is like a pre-setup, right? Preconditions, pre-setup for the trade signal to occur. And so we're taking these pre-setups and extending them forward in time until the actual trade occurs, until condition D occurs. So I'm going to plug in condition C now. And so when we combine A with B and C, we can now see a limitation that we've placed, right? So we've placed a limitation that condition D, the trade trigger, has to occur within 4 bars of C, right? So D has a 4-bar opportunity to fire off. And then when we connect up D, there's our actual trade trigger. So let's see, let's trying to find another example here to show you guys. Well, all right, I don't see any examples here, so I'll just leave it at that. Let's get back to where I was working. Okay, let's connect that up again. All right, so I'm going to scan through the chart again. So I think I've got this all working perfectly, but you should always scan through the entire chart again just to make sure. You want to make sure that trades aren't missing, or that there's signals firing off where they shouldn't be. So let's see. So we got A. Let's grab an arrow here. All right, so we got A in our stochastic, and then B happens. And we got C, we got a reversal bar, or I should say a pullback bar. We got a pullback bar here, but price doesn't reverse soon enough, and so there's no trades. So that looks good. And let's see here. We got condition A for a long. There's condition B for a long. And let's see, we don't get a pullback bar till much later, and essentially we don't get a reversal in time. Yeah, we don't get a reversal soon enough. So both the stochastic cross below 80 and our CCI cross below -100. Yeah. So yeah, we just get a lot of chop up and down, and our stochastic does not stay in a trending state. So therefore, yeah, we just don't get any signals out of this. And let's see here. So we got A for short. There's B. I think B is around here somewhere for a short. But there's just no pullback. Well, we finally get a pullback, but we don't get a reversal for this trade signal. So we almost got a long signal here. We almost got a long signal on that bar. But yeah, the stochastic crossed below 80 just a little too soon. So we can see our stochastic crossed below 80 there, which canceled it. So yeah, let's modify our rules here. Let's say, you're kind of going along and you're like, so maybe we shouldn't cancel, the trade setup if the stochastic crosses 80. Maybe we shouldn't cancel it that soon. Maybe we should wait to see if the stochastic crosses 75 and crosses 75, and for a short situation, maybe we should wait. Let's see if I can find an example here. So for a short trade, yeah, I'm not finding any examples for a short trade, but I'm thinking for the short side, maybe we should wait. Here we go. Oh, looks like our CCI canceled. Let's see here. Yeah, CCI got to 101. So CCI canceled this short here, but if the CCI had not canceled it. We can see that the stochastic got above 20. So I'm thinking, maybe we want to adjust the rules a little bit and say, let's only cancel a short setup if the stochastic crosses above 25 instead of 20, right? So we'll give the stochastic a little leeway so it doesn't cancel the system too early. So how might we do that? So let's see. Let me find where that long trade was that got canceled. Here we go. Yeah. All right. So here's where a long trade might happen if we don't cancel when this stochastic crosses 80. If we don't cancel. So let's take a look at that. Let's see. Interesting. Okay, so I'm looking at the toggle node for condition A. So it looks like we have a condition A right here. Right? So it looks like we have A here. But we're not seeing anything coming out of the toggle node. Let's see. And it's probably because of one of the resets. So let's take a look here. So our crossover solver shows us right there. There's A. There's the crossover for A. Right, condition A for a long signal. But let's take a look at the reset. So our toggle node here. Let's take a look at the reset. And yeah, so look at that. Our CCI crossed that negative 100 at the same time condition A set up. So that canceled the toggle node, unfortunately. Yeah. So, once again, another situation happened up that you might not have thought of when you've built your trading idea. What do we do if the CCI crosses that negative 100? Most likely we just kind of ignore it, right? We ignore the CCI at that point. So let's see, if we want to do that, I think possible solution would be we can take our look back period. So our crossover solver here has a look back, and so we could extend that look back to 2. And so now when condition A occurs, we get 2 bars here, right? 2 bars. And so the second long bar might be enough to turn that toggle node on. And there we go. Yeah. So that worked. So our toggle node for condition A, is our toggle node's on now. And there's condition B, right? So I plugged in the toggle node for condition B. So there's condition B crossing above the 80. Alright, and our toggle node is on. And so for B, right, we're looking at B, and we can see B goes from a long state and flips into a short state because our stochastic crossed below 20. And if we remember, that was because we used this solver to reset this toggle node. So if we disconnect that, and oh, actually, sorry, that's right. That's just because our our crossover. Yeah, this crossover solver is actually what's flip-flopping the toggle node. So remember, if we look at our crossover solver, so we're looking at our crossover solver, right? So it's our stochastic crossing above 80 and then crossing below 80. So that crossing above and crossing below is what's flip-flopping our toggle node back and forth. Like so. Yeah. All right. So if we really wanted to make some exceptions to this rule, we'd have to, we're just going to have to really restructure how this is all built out. Yeah. All right. So, all right, before I do that, let me restore this back to the way it was. Connect that in there, connect that in, connect that in. All right, so I'm just going to leave this the way it is because to build in an allowance, to build in an allowance so that our stochastic can cross below 20, and still be okay to take another long signal as long as our stochastic doesn't come down too far, like we don't want it to come down below 75, or in this case we might have to go down to 70. No, actually, yeah, 75 is okay. Yeah. So in order to build in these allowances, I'm going to have to totally restructure this. So so instead of redoing this, I'm just going to leave that like it is, and I'm going to make a copy of it. All right, and I'll just name it number 2. So, all right. So we're going to have to restructure how these toggle nodes are set up. All right, so let's take a look at the toggle node for A. Yeah, I'm going to have to restructure this so that I have a separate set of logic for a long signal and a separate set of logic for a short signal. So basically this AND node is going to generate a long signal. And so that means I have to use different crossover solvers. So remember, so these crossover solvers are set to evaluate both, both long and short. So I have to go back to the crossover solvers that just evaluated long signals only. So if you remember at the very beginning, I had, yeah, there we go. So I had A, when the stochastic crossed above 20, I had that solver, and that solver was set to evaluate long only, right? So I'm going to have to connect that into the toggle node. And let's change this look back to 2. There we go. So we've got A firing off. And so now let's look at the toggle node for B. And let's see, let's grab the existing toggle node for B, which was a cross up above 80. So remember, this one was built back when I was using the look back nodes. Let's connect that in there. And let me just, there we go. Get those a little organized. Okay. So let's take a look at the toggle node for B. There we go. And let's rename these toggle nodes. There. All right. One thing to keep in mind. So this solver, right, when I change the look back period to 2 for this solver, then we go back to the first logic template using the look back nodes, right? So this is the same solver. You notice it's got the same name here. It says A, stochastic cross up above 20. And you see this look back period got changed to 2 as well because it's one and the same solver. Right, if I change this back to 1, the look back period, if I change it back to 1, and then if I go back to, right, using toggle node number 2, and if I look at this solver again, right, its look back period got changed back to number 1, back to 1. So keep in mind that when you reuse existing solvers, it changes the solver across all of your logic templates. All right, so something to keep in mind. However, function nodes are different. So this function node that got copied, so remember this toggle node number 2, I just made a copy, but it's actually a different function node than what was in the original toggle node logic template. So if we look at this toggle node here, right, we notice that its name didn't get changed. So remember, this toggle node is the same as this toggle node, right, when I copied the logic template. But it was, but it's no longer the same. So you can see I took this toggle node and renamed it back to a toggle node. And it didn't actually change the name of this one. So function nodes don't, let's see, yeah, so for function nodes, a copy of it is actually made. Whereas solvers, so when you copy a logic template, make a copy. Solvers don't get copied. It's actually the same solver that was used in both logic templates. All right, so keep that in mind. So if you want to make a copy of a solver, you have to go back to your solver tab and make a physical copy of it, right? So this crossover solver that's labeled A stochastic cross up 20, there's only one of these. There's not a copy of this. So when you use the copy button to copy your logic templates, the solvers themselves don't get made a copy of, but function nodes do get made a copy of. So right, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So kind of going back to things. There we go. So this solver here, right, this is that condition A for the stochastic crossing up the 20. This is the same solver that's being used on this other logic template, the look back logic template. So see, this solver node is also, it's the same solver node, which is also named A, condition A, stochastic cross up above 20. So if I make a change here, right, so if I change this to 30, the look back at 2, and if I go back to the toggle node number 2 logic template, and if I look at this solver, see, it got changed to 30 as well because it's one and the same solver. So let's keep that in mind. So let's put this back to 30. So I put this back to 30, and if I look at our solvers tab, and there's that solver, you can see its value is changed to 30 because both of those logic templates are using the exact same solver. All right. So if I change this to 30 here, then on our toggle node number 2 logic template, right, that solver got changed to 20. And if I go back to the look back node, this solver also got changed to 20. So it's the same solver that we can see in 3 different spots, right? So spot 1 is on the solver tab, and then the other 2 places we can see it is on our look back node logic template and the toggle node 2 look back, right? So just keep that in mind here when you're kind of doing this, right? So when you're making a copy of your logic templates to kind of test other ideas, just keep in mind that the solvers don't get copied. It's the same solver, but function nodes do get copied. So a copy of the function nodes are made. So if I change this toggle node, it will not change any other toggle nodes anywhere. So, because you'll notice that there's no toggle nodes that show up on the solver tab. Only solvers show up. So toggle nodes are always independent of each other, I should say. So you can't make a copy of a function node. So you can't actually make a copy of function nodes. You just make a whole new, or I should say, you can't have the same function node in multiple places, right? So every function node is completely separate from the others. So, okay, anyways, so kind of getting back to building our system here. So I've got crossover solvers, once again, set to just give us long crossovers for condition A and B, long crossovers. So if we look, there's not going to be any short signals here from that toggle node. So let's see, let me get back. Where was that spot? Here we go. All right. So getting back right to making an allowance in our stochastic, right? So we're going to build a long trade signal that gets canceled when our stochastic crosses below 75 instead of 85. So for that level of granularity, right, I'm having to build a separate long signal and a separate short signal. And yeah, so I've got this OR node, right? So I got signals from the CCI into the OR node, which is turning off our toggles, right? That's turning off our toggles here. So yeah, so let's look at B. So we got B, condition B, turns on our toggle node, and then remember the CCI over here. The CCI over here crossed -100 and turned that short state off. So what we also want, so we also want to turn off B, and we also want to turn off A if our stochastic crosses below 75, right? 75 instead of 85. So I will need to add another crossover on there. Let's connect that up. So let's build a crossover. Let's see where the stochastic crosses down the 75. All right, so let's change this over to the stochastics and set a fixed value of 75. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So this short signal, when the stochastic crosses 75, that short signal is what we'll use to turn off the toggle nodes. So, right, keeping in mind, so we're looking at the OR node for the CCI, and so remember when the CCI crosses -100, it gives us a short signal. So we're using short signals to turn off our toggle nodes. So I can just take this crossover, connect it into the OR node, and so remember this OR node is providing the reset signals. And so there we go. There's a short signal coming out of that OR node when our stochastic crosses the 75, and we're also getting a short signal when the CCI crosses -100. So both of these short signals will turn off the toggle nodes now. So let's take a look at the toggle node. Let's zoom in here. Okay, so condition A, toggle node, condition A happens, and then the CCI, and then the stochastic crosses 75, and it turns off. So toggle node turns off. So, but luckily, it turns off right after the trade signal occurs, so we can see that actually we will still get a long signal there because there's a green output on this reversal bar that's actually going to trigger the trade. And let's check condition B toggle node. So here you go. Here's B. B stays on until the stochastic crosses 75. So, and all right, so let's actually check the signal now. Let's see if that works. All right, there we go. Yep. So we can see we actually got a buy signal there now, making that. So we were able to make adjustments here to our toggle nodes. So, but these toggle nodes are only turning on for a long state, or a long trade setup, I should say, a long trade setup. Let's see. Oh, look at this. We might be in luck here. And no, our stochastic got up to 26 instead of 25. So, you know, if we use 25, then we wouldn't get a short. So, all right, let's adjust our rules again here. So let's make it a little more flexible. So, instead of 75, let's use, I don't know, 72 and 28, right? So 28 on the stochastic to cancel a short setup, and we'll use 72 to cancel a long setup. So we'll kind of fudge our rules around a little bit so that way we can make a short trade setup right here. So let's go back to our solver here. So here's our solver that's canceling a long setup at 75. So let's adjust that down to 72. All right. So cool. We still have a setup here. All right. Looks good. Let's take a look at A. And oh, oops, sorry. Hopefully you guys noticed I only changed the name of the solver. I didn't actually change what the solver's doing. So I need to take the 75 down here and change that to 72. There we go. Okay. And all right, so it looks like eventually our stochastic does get down to 72 here. So it did prevent what could have been another long signal there. So I guess we really want to loosen up the rules. We just go down to 70 and see what happens. There we go. So we could get a long signal there, and it looks like we could possibly get a long signal here as well, because condition A is still on. Condition A doesn't turn off until there, which actually looks like our CCI finally kills the trade setup. So that's A. Let's take a look at B. Same thing. B turns on, and then B gets condition B gets turned off when our CCI fires off. So let's take a look at what happens. So there we go. So making some adjustments to our stochastic condition now allowed 2 additional long signals to go through. Okay, so let's there we go. So let's work on this short signal here. And oh, that's not going to happen because our CCI got above 100. All right, let's find another spot on the chart. Yeah, okay. We've got one here. All right, let me get some lettering out to identify these. Okay, so there's A. There's B. Well, I was trying to find a red letter C, but I don't see one. So let's just make one. Nope. Okay, there's C. And D. All right, so to kind of make all these exceptions in what kind of cancels the trade setup here, right? I had to use crossover solvers that only gave us long signals here, right? So let's if we take a look at this crossover solver, right? It's not giving us these short crossovers anymore. Right, it's only giving us long crossovers. So I'm going to have to create a separate set of solvers here to generate these short output signals that we can then feed into another set of toggle nodes. Yeah. All right. So let's take a shortcut here. Yeah, I'm gonna make a let's see, make a copy of that and make a copy of that, and I'm going to rename this. So this is going to be condition A, where the stochastic crosses down the 80. So now all I have to do is change the evaluate to short only, and that'll just give us a short signal when the stochastic crosses 80. And condition B is when the stochastic crosses down the 20. So I need to change the evaluate to short only, and our 20 value is already set in there. Okay, so there's two new solvers built, and let's see. I'll build the short signals down below here. So let me adjust the board. Okay, so there's condition B. So let's take a look. All right, so looking at the chart, there's A, and there's B. All right. Set that look back to 1, and I remember condition A had a look back at 2, just in case the CCI, because remember we found that one spot where the CCI had canceled out condition A. So condition A had a look back period of 2, just in case. There we go. So look A with a look back period of 2, just in case. All right. So we can basically kind of copy the logic that we've got up here. Just kind of make a copy of it, make a duplicate of it. So let's grab a toggle node. Plug that in. Alright, so that's condition A toggle node. And let's see if we can use the same resets. Let's see. Yeah, I think we can. So we can see here. So when the CCI goes above 100, it's giving us a long output. And so remember, we're building a short trade signal. So it's going to have, so this toggle node, right, is going to have a short output. And we're using the opposite. So we're using long signals to turn off this toggle node. So I can actually use these resets here. And there we go. Oop. So I can take this reset, or this OR node. I can take this OR node, which contains our reset signals, and connect it in to the reset of the toggle node. And so if we take a look at one of these toggle nodes up here, one of the upper toggle nodes, right, we can see the reset. Remember, we took the on opposite signal and we set it to force off. Even for this other toggle node as well, it's set to force off. So both of these toggle nodes have the on opposite signal set to force off for the reset. And so if we take this toggle node, we're going to set the on opposite signal, set it to force off, and there we go. Okay, so signal A turns on, and then here we go. We can see our CCI, right? Our CCI crossed above 100, and it turned that toggle node off. All right, so we've got condition A. Condition A is now working for us, right? It turns on, and then it turns off. So, and our CCI never got above. Let's see. Do we have something for the stochastic? I'm sorry. The stochastic never got above. Well, it did. Oh, look, yeah, look at that. So the CCI got above 100 and our stochastic got above 30, both on the same bar. But I did happen to notice that, right, so we have our solvers generating, signals for when the CCI crosses 100, negative 100 and 100. But for the stochastic, I only have one solver for when the stochastic crosses down 70, right? Yeah, we changed that value to 70 here, so I needed to fix the name. But we don't have a crossover for when the stochastic crosses 30. So let's build one of those real quick. We will need one. So there's our stochastic crossing down 70. So I'll just make a copy of that. And this is actually going to be actually, instead of using that one, I've got this one already set up here. There we go. Yes, so when the stochastic crosses up above 30, So crossing up above 30 is going to cancel the ability to take another short trade. So I just grabbed a crossover solver that was the one that was already set up for crossing above 20. So now I'll just reassign it to crossing above 30, like so, and it already has a long only there. So let's change that. So there we go. So we've got a solver here for when the stochastic crosses down 70, and we've got another solver for when the stochastic crosses up 30. So let's put that on the board here. All right. So it took two different crossover solvers to look for the stochastic crossing 70 and to look for a stochastic crossing 30. And so I can plug that into this OR node as well. So this OR node is looking for a lot of different situations that's going to cancel the trade setup. So if we take a look at this, let's plug it into the result node here. So let's see, what do we have here? Yeah, so this short is when our stochastic crosses 70, and this next short is when our CCI crosses that negative 100, and the CCI crossed negative 100 again, it crossed negative 100 again. Let's look back here. So CCI is crossing negative 100, and the CCI is crossing 100, but also it looks like the CCI, or the stochastic, is crossing 30 there as well. All right, so we got a lot of situations here. Well, we got two situations: when the CCI crosses 100 or negative 100, and then when the stochastic crosses 30 or crosses 70 over here. Yeah. And I think one thing I noticed is, I noticed that this had a look back at 2, so let me set it back to 1. So when we're using a crossover to kind of reset our toggle nodes, we only need a look back period of 1. So I'm making sure that the look back period is set to 1 on all these. So remember, this look back period was set to 2. Remember, it was set to 2 because earlier I had copied this solver here that was already set up to cross up above 20. So I made a copy of that to make this one here with a cross up of 30. So when I copied it, remember, it had a look back period of 2. So that's why I had to take this cross up of 30 and change it back to 2. So, something to be mindful when you're making copies of your solvers. Just be mindful that, there's sometimes you might have some of these settings, that you forget to change. So, yeah, so just be mindful of that. All right. Okay, so we did a double check on basically our resets here. So I'm going to rename this here. So this is no longer just the CCI, but it's actually, it's just a reset. So it's a reset using our CCI and stochastic. So I'll just rename that OR node to my resets, plural there. All right. So condition A, yep, we got condition A working here. So let's add another toggle node for condition B. Let's go with B. Rename that to toggle B. Okay. So we got the toggle node hooked up, but we can see it's just always in a long state. So let's get our reset connected up there. All right. And also, so the toggle node for condition B, remember we need to turn our reset, set up the reset. So we need to set it to force off, like we've done with all the other toggle nodes. And okay, so there we go. Condition B, toggle node turns on, and then it looks like our stochastic crossed above 30 and it turned off. Yeah. And let's look at this over here. So we got a CCI crossing 100, which could have turned the toggle node off, but also, who knows, maybe our stochastic, no, actually, let's take a look. Yeah, so we can see our CCI is at 101, and oh yeah, our stochastic's at 31. So both the stochastics and CCI turned off toggle node for B. So, but anyways, but we can see that, you know, condition C sets up here, and then condition D is going to set up for the trace signal. So we're still good here to get a trace signal. All right, so let's take condition A and B for the short trade setup. Right, so we're going to plug this into an AND node. And there we go, so far so good. So let's see, I think we can, yeah. So condition C, right, so the toggle node, or sorry, the solvers for condition C and D are basically universal for both the long and shorts. So I'm looking at condition C right now. Right, so I've got the look back node for condition C plugged in, and so I can see I'm actually getting a short output here. When I look at condition C, I'm getting a short output right there where condition C happens. So that tells me that this solver is already set up where I can use it for both a short trade signal and a long trade signal. So let's take a look at this AND node. So I think I can just plug in condition C, and bingo, there we go. So condition C happens. So condition C is now waiting for condition D to occur. So now if I take the solver for condition D, plug it in there, and bingo, there is our short trade. So let me disconnect D here for a moment. So what we're looking at is condition, we're looking at condition A, B, and C, where A, B, and C overlap each other. And we can see here that actually, interesting, we got another condition C. We got another condition C, but price didn't reverse enough to actually give us condition D for the trade signal. So eventually, right, condition C eventually just turned off, or actually no, that's right, it got canceled by our CCI, and it got canceled by our stochastic. So unfortunately, not a second trade setup. So let's connect up condition D again. There we go. All right, let's kind of walk through here. Let's see what we got. Um, so, yeah, interesting. All right, so we have A, B. There we go. So there's A, there's B, and then we can see we got our pullback bar up here, a pullback bar, and then another reversal bar in the direction of the trade. So, yep. And let's see, our CCI never crossed the 100. Yep, and our stochastic never crossed 30. There we go. And it looks like, yeah, when price was consolidating around here, yeah, if we look at our CCI, I can see that CCI was probably turning off, you know, all the trade setups that might have been happening when price was kind of consolidating around here a little bit. Yeah. And also our stochastics, you know, it looks like it's crossing above 30, and yeah, so that's why, yeah, so no trade setups in this area. So let's see what happened here. So it looks like we have, it looks like we got A, then we got B. Our stochastic doesn't look like it got above 100, but I'm sorry, the CCI doesn't look like it got above 100, but the stochastic, yeah, I have a feeling that the stochastic got above 30. Yes, it did. Our stochastic got above 30. So. And so, yeah, look here. So remember this original spot. So when I first started building, you know, this system, we weren't using the CCI. Now that we're using the CCI, this first area, basically, condition A got canceled because the CCI went above 100. So, yep, different. And all right, yeah, so we still have these two setups, right? Yep. Condition A, B, our CCI never got above 100. Our stochastic stayed down low. So, all right. And yep, so right here it looks like our stochastics got above 30, right, which canceled our trade. All right, there we go. Yeah, so we got A, B, reversal, or a pullback bar, and then a reversal. And our CCI, yeah, stayed below 100 the whole time. All right, so anyways, so there is, you know, just a couple examples of how to use the toggle node and how to use the look back node, you know, and basically build kind of various conditions that kind of cancel the trade setup, you know, per se. So, right, so I'd say this is very common this is a very common concept when people are developing trading systems, right? You know, so you have condition A, B, C, and D, and maybe more, maybe less, you know, but the concept is, you know, usually you have to get the output the solver output for condition A all the way over to condition D for the trade setup to occur. There we go. Here's a better example here. So you have to get condition A and extend it forward in time until the trade signal actually fires off. So, and those are a couple of common ways that you could do that. So, let's see. Just let me go back to. Let's go back to the look back here. So look back is kind of a simple way, but also if you need. The one thing about the look backs is there's no way to turn them off, right? They just look back for a fixed number of bars. There's no way to turn them off, right? So one thing that we learned about toggle nodes is that toggle nodes have a reset function, so you can turn a toggle node off early, based on certain things happening. But right, look back nodes you can't. They're just pretty simplistic. But so what if you needed to turn a look back node off? How could you do that? Well, then you would actually use a signal extender instead. So I could take a signal extender so let's connect let's connect that solver up into the signal extender. So let's take a look at this look back. Okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we have condition A being extended forward 10 bars, by this look back node. I can take a signal extender and it does the same thing. And if I set our extend signal for, set it to 10, right, I get the same result. But you'll notice that a signal extender has a reset connection point. So you can turn off a signal extender, and so a signal extender has all of these different reset capabilities, all of these different reset capabilities here. So using a signal extender, we could accomplish the same thing as a look back, but we could turn, right, we can use the reset connection to turn the signal extender off as well. So so we could, so for example, let's kind of go back to our toggle nodes. Here's probably a more practical example. So these toggle nodes, the way we built this is these toggle nodes, they stay on forever until they actually get turned off. And the only thing that's turning them off is this reset functionality. So if we use a signal extender, then a signal extender would give you two capabilities of basically kind of canceling condition A or condition B, right? So with a signal extender, we could, with the signal extender, it's going to place a limitation. So you can say that condition A is only good for 20 bars. 20 bars. So if we plug in, let's take this. There we go. So let's take a look at condition A. Right. So if we look here, we have condition A being extended forward for 20 bars, and or we can cancel condition A using our CCI. So remember, we built a CCI reset condition. So I could take this reset, the reset signals here, connect it into the reset, like so, and actually, yeah, look, so condition A actually got reset way back here. Actually, hold on. Let's make sure our resets are set correctly. So we'll set it up the same way as the toggle node. So we actually want a reset opposite signal. There we go. Yeah. So we just had to get the resets set correctly. So we're using reset opposite signal. We set that to true, right? Which is the same thing that we're doing with the toggle node. So if we look at the toggle node under the reset, we're using the on opposite signal to force off the signal. Oops, let's put that back there, to force off the signal. So when looking at the signal extender, we're going to use the let me slide this forward. There we go. So for the signal extender, we're using the reset opposite signal. We set that to true. So the signal extender is in a long state. So a opposite signal would be a short signal. So when the short signal from the CCI crossing -100, when that short signal comes into the reset, that turns off the signal extender. Right? So let's take a look at the reset signals here. So here we go. Here is our short reset signal. So these short signals are going in to the signal extender's reset connection. Right? So it's going into the reset connection. And so that short is opposite of this long state. So the signal extender is in a long state. That short signal comes in, which is opposite. So that's why we took the reset opposite signal and set it to true. So this signal extender now offers two ways to cancel condition A. Right? So condition A can be canceled by this indicator, by the CCI crossing, or condition A can be canceled after 20 bars. So a signal extender kind of gives us two ways to cancel the setup. So, all right, yeah. So that's basically the three ways that you can set up a system. So, and you know what? Last step here. So this AND node has long signals. This AND node, right, was set up for short signals, and so to see both at the same time, we have to connect them into an OR signal. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. So if we take a look at that OR node, and now we can see both short and long signals at the same time. And okay, there we go. So actually, Yeah, okay. So actually, our original spot did actually have um, a trade set up there. Yeah, that's right. So the CCI, yeah, the CCI has to get below negative 100 to cancel the long setups. That's right. So, yeah. Yeah, let's look at some of these others. So, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, we got A for a short setup, B for a short setup, and then we got a pullback, and then a reversal bar for that signal. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna leave it there. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.